want to start with water that's 80 degrees. This is 81 degrees. It'll be fine because it'll cool right at 80, 81, 80 degree. And it really does make a difference when you're doing this. I put the container there. I let this go to 0 and switch it to kilograms. We're going to be working in metric because it's much easier to do the math with the metric than it is in the other direction. So I'm going to put in 750 grams of water. When you're new to this, it's best to just do 700 grams of water. I'm using 750 because it makes slightly larger area holes, makes a more tender crumb. But at first, when you're learning to do this, it's much better to start with 700. So here I go, I'm going to 750. I'll try to keep it as precise as possible. The consistency will make a big difference. There's 751, that'll be just fine. So now I zero that out. I'm going to get my hand wet. This keeps I'm going to get my hand wet here in the sink. It keeps the things from sticking together. I've got my starter here. I want to put in 200 grams of starter. 200 grams of starter. It's like a very soft Play-Doh, very pliable, very pliable. So we're going for 200 grams. And again, when you're learning to do this, don't improvise. It's so much better if you're very, very precise. And then you can make adjustments later on. Going for 200 grams of sticky starter. Okay, got a few more grams. And again, I know well, going with 203, but that'll be just fine. But again, try to stay with it, keep it pretty precise and consistent. Now at this stage, I'm going to use a whisk. I use a Danish whisk, but you could use any kind of whisk to stir this in. We're just wanting to get the starter distributed evenly through that 80-degree water so that we can have the consistency that we need. Now, I'm leaving that in there, but it'll be fine because I'm going to zero it out so we can keep the weight consistent. So, this particular bread dough, we use 100 grams of whole wheat flour, 100 grams of whole wheat flour. So much for me being precise. And then we're going to put in 900 grams of white flour. But this is going to make it so it's 100 grams or 1 kilo of flour and 75 in my case. In your case as a starter, always use 700 grams of water to begin. Okay, I went a little too fast, so I'm going to take it out. Again, consistency really will be your friend as you're learning to do this. And then little tiny adjustments later could be fine. But as much as possible, try to keep it precise. Here we go. So I'm going to whisk this together. Most people, you probably won't have a Danish whisk like this. Use either a heavy wooden spoon or a heavy metal spoon. The idea at this point is simply to get the water and the flours brought in together into what they call a shaggy ball or a shaggy dough. This will be the most physically demanding part of the whole, not the technically most demanding, but the physically most demanding part of the whole experience making the bread. And we just want to get it brought together consistently. That's all we're trying to do. Okay, so that way we don't have any dry flour spots and we don't have any globs of water anywhere. I'll clean that off. And then I'll put a lid on this and we'll set it aside for 30 minutes before we go to the next stage. Put a tight-fitting lid. And again, we're going to keep that for about 30 minutes. Set your timer so that you know that you're doing 30 minutes. You could go 20, but 30 minutes is good.